House of Representatives demands rescue of women and children abducted by terrorists in Gamborone, Gala. House seeks a living wage for workers. And 1 million tons of rice to be produced in the next 3 months as part of measures to guarantee national food security. Thank you for joining us on the program You and Your Reps. I am Victor, as welcome. The House of Representatives has requested the nation's security forces to go the extra mile to rescue about 300 persons, including women and children, reportedly abducted by terrorists in Gamborone Ngala local government area of Borno State. Now, this follows a motion of urgent public importance raised by Representative Zainab Gimba from Borno State, who informed the House that most of the victims were abducted around IDP camps in the area. Another 278 persons were reportedly abducted in Kaduna State.
By waiving 8.
In the course of plenary, the House suspended its rules to accommodate an urgent motion reporting fresh abduction of citizens in Borno State.
The insurgents freed the old age but abducted about almost 300 even young girls and boys. 3 girls escaped from the den of the insurgents, reported that they were taken to a bush close to Bunkar Mairam village along the shores of the Lake Chad, bordering the Republic of Chad and Cameroon.
We urge our security agencies to ensure that these girls who have been adopted, that is causing a lot of tears in the house, that they will not face the same fate with those who were adopted a while ago. Stitching time saves 9. Let us start now to work hard to make sure they don't take them too far before bringing them back becomes difficult.
To prepare citizens for contemporary security challenges, the House adopted a motion urging the Federal Ministry of Education to incorporate security education in primary and secondary schools' curricula.
UNICEF report that since 2018, over 30 schools have been attacked. Due to escalating insecurity in the country, it has become imperative for children to learn defense mechanisms.
In other resolutions, the House mandated its committees on national planning and economic development, as well as appropriation and finance, to carry out a comprehensive assessment of the implications of the rising foreign exchange on the 2024 national budget.
The 2024 Appropriation Act would be difficult to implement due to foreign exchange volatility.
Meanwhile, the House has summoned the Minister of Niger Delta to appear before its Committee on Public Petitions to respond to alleged exclusion of Edo South Senatorial District in projects contained in the 2024 budget of the ministry.
Mr. Chairman, ours is a case that is very, very pathetic.
And the agencies and ministries that are being saddled with the responsibility to respond to these issues, even one person is not even here. It's quite disappointing.
The committee promised to give all parties in the matter fair hearing.
A laborer is worthy of his wages is a common phrase. However, lawmakers in the Green Chamber have rephrased this to say that laborers are worthy of living wages commensurate with current economic realities. Now, the House of Representatives has therefore constituted an ad hoc committee to look into modalities for the payment of living wages to Nigerian workers at rates that match economic realities.
Presently, no laborer can live in Nigeria with a wage of less than 100,000 naira. Unless very immediate and pragmatic steps are taken to improve the income of Nigerians, more Nigerians will go down the economic line, with the poor population increasing. This, in effect, will lead to desperation.
The House drew the attention of security agencies to the tide of banditry in Katsina State, calling for urgent security measures.
Some gangs of armed bandits from neighboring Kaduna and Zamfara states are making all efforts to gain control over some communities in Katsina State. The same issue is happening in Benue State. The same issue is happening in Niger State. The same issue is happening in some part of the Southeast.
Adopting other motions, the House mandates its Committee on National Planning and Economic Development to investigate implementation of the national budget. This is to determine compliance with authorized funding structure for ministries, departments, and agencies of government.
To review the need and rationale for exemption of some government institutions from the envelope regime on the national budgetary system.
2 infrastructure bills scaled second reading.
To engage with the Transmission Company of Nigeria and the other relevant agencies to expedite immediate connection of Ringim and Tora local governments to the national grid.
To amend the Federal Medical Centers Act to provide for the establishment of the Federal Medical Centers in Simbaki in Wamba, Nasarawa State.
A bill for an act to establish National Tax Crimes and Oversight Commission also scaled second reading. The proposed commission, lawmakers say, will address revenue leakages emanating from tax evasion and related crimes.
The House also resolved to call attention of the federal and state governments to the congestion in Nigeria's custodial facilities, among other issues in the criminal justice system. We later engaged mover of the motion, Chinedu Ogah, who is the chair of the House Committee on Reformatory Institutions.
It was called prison under exclusive. From there, it was amended, and Mr. President signed it. It became a law of Constitution Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. Means that every state, including FCT, the 36 states, including FCT, have a constitutional power to build, manage their own correction service. When you do analysis of all the inmates in the whole correction service, 90% is all the state offenders. It's only 10% that is federal government. But it's only the federal government oversee everything. Means that the governors are already defaulting the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. We are not doing what we're supposed to do. The correction service, as it been mentioned, are we really correcting this inmate? Are we really redirecting their attitude? What measure have we put on ground? The where those correction servicemen live is uninhabitable. The cells is uninhabitable. And if we did not give them reorientation and reintegrating them, the crime will continue. This is where you keep people you call banditry. This is where you keep people you call armed robbers. This is where you keep people that you call kidnappers. This is where you keep people that call murderers. And even those that are not presumed to be committed offense till be presumed by law. For you to do and give a child a hope, you need to reorient his attitude and change his mind by giving him things that will make him to be reintegrated to the society, so that he can be useful to himself, he cannot engage to that crime. We voted more money to other security agents and neglect that correction service is the key to Nigerian security. We have a farm settlement. What budget have we put into those farm settlements in which there will be a kind of buy a farm implement, process the food they can be using in that prison services. The land they have is enough to even serve the nation, part of the nation. But we neglect it. So there is a lot we need to do. By doing that, the Ministry of Justice have to look. Most of those that have a minor offense should not be detained there, because when they are being detained, they can now reintegrate them into the crime, because they should be on it. Thank God for what the Ministry of Interior have done as a part one, but we still need to do more. What are the database of those that are awaiting trial? There is no database. That is why when a prison have outbreak of prison, you cannot catch an inmate. But if there is a database, most of those people, there is a way they will go or bank, they will be caught. So there is a lot we need to do. How will you come today and tell me that a man that is living well, that 750 naira can feed him, and you urge such person not to go into crime? No, it's not possible. We need to increase the ration feeding of the prisons, of the correction service. We need to cater for the welfare of the correction services. Those that are checkmating, their salary is very poor. They need to look into it. Their quarters is not to write home about. Let's take some percentage of the budget and put there. You see that all this banditry, all this security we are talking of will drastically stop, because those people you have already bring in and lock them there to change their narrative not to get into the crime again, and give them new orientation by giving them a training. They will not go back to crime. When such person comes out now, you should be able to have something doing, be monitored, be implemented. Such a thing will not happen. And we can now use them in generating revenue for this country. We have a farm settlement. What budget have we put into those farm settlements in which there will be a kind of buy a farm implement, process the food that can be using in that prison services. The land they have is enough to even serve the nation, part of the nation. But we neglect it. How will you come today and tell me that a man that is living well, that 750 naira can feed him, and you urge such person not to go into crime? No, it's not possible. We need to increase the ration feeding of the prisons, of the correction service. We need to cater for the welfare of the correction services. Those that are checkmating, their salary is very poor. They need to look into it. Their quarters is not to write home about. Let's take some percentage of the budget and put there. You see that all this banditry, all this security we are talking of will drastically stop, because those people you have already bring in and lock them there to change their narrative not to get into the crime again, and give them new orientation by giving them a training. They will not go back to crime. When such person comes out now, you should be able to have something doing, be monitored, be implemented. Such a thing will not happen. And we can now use them in generating revenue for this country. We are asking, Mr. President, we're asking those that always do things in their social responsibility to come into partnership with correction service. You can come and build hostel for them. You can come and do. In America, prison or correction service are private owned, managed. So that is what we look at, and that is why we brought up the motion that the Minister of Justice should look to make sure that this part of the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, 99 Constitution as amended, should be fully implemented.
1 million tons of rice will be produced within the next 3 months following dry season interventions to farmers under the National Agricultural Growth Scheme. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Abubakar Kyari says this is part of short-term measures to guarantee national food security. He was speaking at the House of Representatives sectoral debate with stakeholders in the agriculture sector.
We are currently facing tough times in this country.
The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security admits that the nation's food crisis is challenging. He listed the remote and recent causes to include the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, incessant farmers-herders clashes, and smuggling of food to neighboring countries. With food security topping the 8-point agenda of the Chinedu administration, he highlighted dry season interventions.
Maize is not as much as rice in the dry season, but we intend to cultivate about 55,000 hectares, which will impact 110,000 farmers. and a yield of 220,000 metric tons. Cassava also is 35,000 hectares with 70,000 farmers and a yield of 525,000 tons. So we're looking at a total of 250,000 hectares of rice for the dry season, which will mean impacting on 500,000 farmers.
The minister also emphasized the need for mechanized agriculture.
We are under-tractorized. Today, I'm not too sure if we have 5,000 tractors working. We need over 72,000 in terms of arable land space.
Our collective effort must focus on addressing both demand and supply factors along with the persistent challenge of food price inflation.
Lawmakers posed critical questions to the Comptroller General of Customs.
That all the food items seized be sold to the vulnerables at a very minimal price. And you've told us you've started in Lagos. What stops you from giving directives simultaneously that they be sold? Why wait for Lagos to finish before you come to Akwa Ibom, before you go to Abia State, before you go to Kaduna?
We felt that we needed to put in a plan, run it, and take some learnings from what we did in the first instance. You need an exit plan to explain to so many other people who are waiting to collect bags of rice. And that was actually the issue we had in Lagos, because the stampede happened after we have distributed the very last bag.
Almost 400 trillion is needed into agri-space. And most of this funding is not coming from the federal government, it's not coming from the subnational, but it's coming from the private sector.
Now, what does it mean to second a bill or motion? Well, that's our question to Chair of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Francis Waive.
It's a legislative practice to ensure that when there is an idea that is brought forth, either in terms of a motion or in terms of a bill, other than the originator or the mover of that motion, the sponsor of that bill, other than these primary individuals, there must be someone else who agrees with that idea contained in that motion or bill. And that is the person that stands up to speak in support, first to second that motion, or second the motion for the a debate on the second reading of a bill. The idea is to ensure that a motion or a bill that does not have an immediate supporter, there is no need laboring the House to go into discussing it. So when a motion or a second reading bill has somebody who believes in the same thing and publicly stands up to so second, it gives room for the mover to now lead his debate or to present his motion. It's a way of ensuring that the matters that come in are matters that have at least some acceptance before they are being discussed. So second is to support, the first person to support a motion or a bill for debate. That is what it means to second. It's very crucial, because if it is not there, that matter will not be heard.
This week on You and Your Reps, the committee segment features the House Committee on Internal Security of the National Assembly. Now, what is the mandate of this committee and what has it been up to lately? Chair of the committee, Garba Ibrahim, will tell us.
The mandate of this committee is to secure the premises of the National Assembly. That is to say, both within the complex and outside the complex, including the whole premises. So that is the mandate of this committee, to make the National Assembly safe for all of us, for the security and for the safety of the honorable members and the senators, including the staff of the National Assembly. Under this committee, we have the DSS, we have the Sergeant at Arms, we have the Civil Defense, we have the Fire Service, we have the Road Safety. All arms of security are represented in the National Assembly. So I only give the leadership so that we achieve result. And that result is secure in the National Assembly, so that anything that is not needed does not happen in the National Assembly. There was a job going on which we inherited. That is to make everything to be digital. That is, having access to the National Assembly now will be using your digitalized card, so that those who come in or who want to come in, they will be cleared, especially visitors. Once they are cleared, they are given that card. They can only have access to the floor they are allowed to go. They cannot have access to any other floor. Only honorable members and one of their aides are allowed to have access to all the floors. So more or less, we tested this system this month, and we found it to be working, except some errors which we are trying to maybe now correct. But by the grace of God, the system will come up by the end of this month. Each and every member of the National Assembly will be given a card which will allow them to have access to all the floors to anywhere. Those who are not members of the Assembly will not have that type of card. But when they come, they will only have access card. And that access card will only limit them to the floor they are going. So this is the state of the work now. It has been tested and everything is working according to plan. We have a new gate, this gate, which allows access to the National Assembly. We have a lot of scanners now, scanning your car, scanning your vehicle, scanning your luggage, scanning everything. So we hope to have a secure National Assembly. The challenges we are having is just like any other committee of the National Assembly, is that of constraint of budget. We are a committee which is an internal committee. The committee is under the management of the National National Assembly. So whatever we are doing, we have to beg, we have to write, we have to get from the National Assembly. Just saying we don't have any budget, so we have to always look for funds, look for things to do ourselves.
Well, we'll be looking out for the changes. And that's been You and Your Reps. We thank you for watching. I am Victor, as well. See you next time.